Welcome to Handmade History.
Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Alicia and I'm coming to you with a special bonus episode. Today we have an interview with heritage crafter, conservationist, and the host of Willow's Vintage Homestead podcast, Willow Polson.
Hello, hello.
Hi, welcome.
Thanks.
Super excited to have you on here. Willow and I are both members of the Craft Industry Alliance, which is a trade organization for craft professionals. And that's how we met. So, Willow, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and where you learned to do some of the crafts that you do?
Oh boy. I've done craft most of my life. I remember distinctly the first craft kit I ever got when I was 8. It was a crewel embroidery kit of I think it was like a little marketplace or something, and it was just like I was so enchanted by that. I just was like, I gotta do more, I gotta do more. So I taught myself really to do candle making and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I was an art major in college because art is just my thing. But I took a little side trip in there through anthropology and museum studies, which circles me around to the conservation part that you mentioned earlier. I'm the past president of the local history center in Coulterville, California, Northern Mariposa County History Center. And it's all volunteer staff. There's nobody paid except for the bookkeeper. So an object came in that was in kind of rough shape, and knowing as much as I do a lifetime of stitching and handling these different materials, I was like, you know what? I think we can do some conservation work on this to help preserve it, because it was shattering silk. And for weighted silk, for those who may know what that is, it's where it's been treated with mineral salts that are literally cutting the fabric apart inside itself. It's self-destructing. So it's irreversible. All you can do is kind of hold it together the best you can. So I researched that at a museum in Kansas. Was putting organza over it in the same color. I thought, well, let's try it. It worked fabulously well. And so that's one thing that I've done at the museum is I'm not a professional conservationist. I don't have a degree in it. It's just through careful research, using museum methods, archival methods as much as possible to just do what makes sense, make sure it's reversible. I'm way down a rabbit hole already. Sorry about that.
No, I love it. I think it's really interesting. I also think that since you are a crafter, you probably have a unique perspective that maybe, I don't know if your other colleagues at your museum do, or, maybe even other conservationists who don't specialize in textiles, they might not have the same kind of background that you do because you've actually worked with these types of things, like what weighted silk is. So yeah, I think it's an interesting intersection, and it's really cool that you got to work on that.
Yeah, I'm glad I had the opportunity. I'm a giant history nerd. When I got married, my husband and I were thinking, well, where do we want to go on our honeymoon? And we both immediately arrived at the Smithsonian and Colonial Williamsburg, because we're both in California and we've never, been to those places. So in lieu of a very fancy thing, we got married at the courthouse and used all the money on our vacation.
That is so cool. Colonial Williamsburg has a very special place in my heart because when I was like a kid, when I was 10 years old, I was very into the American Girl dolls. And my family took a trip to Colonial Williamsburg, and I remember it was incredibly hot. But also I felt like I was in Felicity, who is one of the dolls. I felt like I was in her world. It was so amazing.
Yes.
So I really
living history it's not only fun, and it takes you into another place if you don't want to, exist in this place for a little while for reasons. You can kind of take a little mental vacation and be medieval or be colonial or, some other existence and do deep dives into that. I was in the SCA for a long time. The Society for Creative Anachronism is what it's called.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Do they do reenacting?
Yeah, it's very casual. It's not strict. historical necessarily. There's a lot of mead making and mead drinking and sword fighting and people hitting each other with things. But it's a good time, and you can be as historically accurate as you want to. In fact, I did get a Kingdom Arts and Sciences Award for my embroidery. So
Ooh, what did you
yeah.
embroider?
It was a table runner that I devised a green man design. It was my own design and has beads and you know period correct stitches on there because I'm that nerd. I like to
Wait,
be as accurate as possible.
I want to know more about this. So the green man, I think, is a symbol of like growing things, right? Of spring, like kind of
Yeah,
a pagan symbol.
yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah.
and what are some of the medieval stitches?
Oh, well, I mean, there's a really, really, really complicated one that somebody taught in a workshop that is like the hardest stitch in the world, and I did
Ooh.
about an inch of that, and I thought, that's enough of that. So, but things like split stitch,
Mhm.
stem stitch, the simple basic satin stitch, long and short stitch. I mean, people have
Yeah.
been doing those for ages. So,
Yeah. That is really cool. Well, congratulations on your award.
oh, thank you.
So do you have any so you said that you're self-taught and when you um did this conservation project with the silk, you went to other museums. How did you figure out how did you like find places that could teach you and what kind of resources did you use to learn?
Well, the organza overlay was actually on the internet where I found
No.
that, because it's over in I think at the University of Kansas, I think. They have some, ribbon skirts, and the silk ribbon on those is having the same problem,
Mm.
and they showed how exactly they did that. They actually cut out the organza with a hot knife to melt the edges so that
Wow.
it wouldn't fray. Yeah, and I thought, "Okay, that's brilliant right there."
Yeah.
Found a similar color and then just stitched over it, and what it's doing for that big banner that I mentioned is it's holding everything into place and acting as a little bit of a strengthening so that we can hang it as part of the museum display without risking it, just sagging and shattering further, destroying itself through its own weight and the mineral salts.
Mm. So the silk is like too heavy for the banner.
I mean, it's too heavy for itself. That's really the problem. It's got a heavy canvas center,
Mhm.
and then the back is yet more silk. I didn't touch the back just because nobody's gonna see it. I don't
Yeah.
wanna, but the front is multiple colors of different silks. The red in particular is really, really shot. But it looks better optically for visitors. It doesn't affect it. Again, it's completely reversible. It's all non-harming materials. I used a nylon thread so that the color wouldn't bleed. That's
Mhm.
another concern in museums is what I have a display of Native American bows and arrows. I
Mhm.
specifically have white fabric cradling those things so that the surrounding fabrics don't touch those things, just in case there's any
Mm.
weird bleeding. You don't want to pick that up in 2 years and turn it over and discover that you've got a problem that you caused.
Right, right. Like my own fabric collection, which is just stacked.
Just well, I mean, modern fabrics generally won't bleed, but when
Mhm.
you're working with stuff that's been sitting around in storage and you don't really know for sure because you're on a budget, you gotta use it. Nah, let's just be safe. Let's just be
Yeah.
super safe.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Why don't you tell me a bit about your podcast? What is Willow's Vintage Homestead?
I'm glad you asked. It is a celebration of all things old-timey. I will talk to folks about everything from gold mining to Rose Parade floats to the history of burlesque and stage magic. And I recently talked to somebody about the Donner Party. I mean, it's all over the place, but I think that's what makes it fun is
Yeah.
that it covers history and crafting in particular. I have shows that are crafting in community and how that brings people together, music in community, and same thing, how that brings people together. So it's not just pure history, it's also hands on. And it's the homestead because A, I live on a homestead. B, I like to talk about homestead topics such as, keeping sheep and chickens and weird gardening techniques and stuff.
That sounds really cool. It does sound like you have a bit of a Western focus, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I like to get local folks because it started out on KRYZ radio out of Mariposa, California,
How
and then
cool.
yeah, that's where I've been wanting to do this for a while. I'm like, I don't have the time. I don't feel like it. And then I saw an ad in the local paper that was like, "Hey, do you like radio? Come host a show." I'm like, "Okay, all right, I'm gonna do it." So
That is awesome.
so they get the first run, and then a week later, it rolls out to, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, how cool. So we can listen to you on the radio also.
Yeah, I mean, they run it, twice, and then it gets archived. So if you wanna download it on demand, you gotta go elsewhere, but,
Mm,
you do it live on KRYZ. It is listed on that page's list of not episodes, shows. So
yeah,
you'll find it when the air times are Wednesday and Saturday.
that is really neat. Do you have any favorite episodes or favorite projects that you've talked about on the show?
Oh, gee. Oh, I don't know. Well, I mean, one of my good friends is Robert Baxt, a magician out of Los Angeles, and he is just the most fun person ever. He was my third show. And listening to him talk, and he's a comedian also. So, obviously there's lots of
Yeah.
goofy humor in there. And so that's one of my top ones, I think. John Ramirez, who designs many of the Rose Parade floats that you see. He did 11 in the last one this year. So he does the big ones, the big giant ones, and wins awards. The first show I ever did was my friend Ian Love Jones with the Odd Fellows, because I am an Odd Fellow. And actually,
Mm.
as of this recording, tonight, I'm going to be installed as the Vice Grand in my lodge.
Wow, congratulations.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I was pretty shocked when I got nominated. I was like, "What?" And in fact, sitting here, I'm actually looking at another textile restoration project, which is the antique collars that we wear at lodge. A lot of them are so old that they're just literally falling apart. The sequins on the floor, it's going everywhere. So I
Oh,
got to try
no.
and stabilize these. Yeah, yeah.
I have some follow-up questions. First of all, can you tell me a bit more about the Rose Parade, what that is?
Oh, hey. Oh. I need to tell you what the Rose Parade is? New Year's Day. It's the big parade in Pasadena, California, where everything has to be covered with floral material. It's gotten bigger and bigger. It internationally televised, and I mean, these things are massively huge. He works for a big company that designs them. They're like 40, 60 feet long. I mean, they're just immense, and it's very talented.
Wow, very cool.
Yeah, animated and everything else. Yeah.
I have never watched that. That's awesome. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Oh, shame. We can't be friends.
And then I have another question about the Odd Fellows. So,
Yeah.
for people who don't know, what is the Odd Fellows?
I'm glad you asked, Alicia. It's a fraternal order that dates back to 1819 in America. My own lodge was chartered October 31st, 1861, in the town of Coulterville. And it is for benevolence and charity. We take care of the sick, bury the dead, educate the orphan, and relieve the distressed. And we have our ceremonial collars that denote what office we're in, so it's not like spooky, spooky, mysterious stuff. I mean, we do have some lodge secrets, secret
Right.
handshake passwords, just so that we can verify who is actually, a lodge member.
Mhm.
Uh, but there's a lot of different fraternal organizations. I've heard it described as the Masons work on improving yourself,
Mm,
whereas the Oddfellows work on improving the world. So
interesting.
we do outreach, we do scholarships for kids, different programs, food banks, donating water and time to disasters, things like that. So we go out and into the community and do what we can there. So
That's cool. So it sounds a bit like a Rotary Club or something.
yeah,
Yeah, but with
yeah.
history and secret handshakes and collars.
Right. It's a fraternal order. It was based in England originally, so there's a
Okay.
lot of legacy stuff of, it's very ceremonial, which I think is cool because
Yeah.
part of the reason I joined is for the regalia.
Right, right. Well,
So,
that's
because I'm like,
fun.
yeah, yeah, there's all the different robes that people wear during like these initiation ceremonies and stuff, and it's just, life lessons and stuff. It's not like, anything weird or crazy is going on there. It's just,
Yeah. It sounds fun, and it sounds like you help people. That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm always happy to let people know what the Odd Fellows is because people see these buildings that say IOOF on the top of them. They're like, "What is
Mhm.
this thing?" I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
It's the Independent Order of Odd Fellows
There you go.
is what IOOF is.
Odd fellows, 2 different words. I was
Yeah,
doing
and it's called Odd Fellows just because it was originally groups of people who didn't have their own guilds, who didn't have insurance, like miners and other trade
Mm,
people that were kind of, left drifting because they didn't have insurance policies. If somebody was killed in a mining accident, there was nothing there. So this was formed to help out folks that didn't have other support systems.
that's interesting. So it's kinda like a brotherhood for people who are outside of other organizations.
That is 100% where it started. Yeah, and now
Oh,
it's a siblinghood because now all genders are allowed in the
oh, cool.
Odd Fellows. Yes.
That's really neat.
Yep.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for asking.
What is something that you are excited about working on or, making an episode on coming up?
Well, that's kind of two different things because what I work on, I don't necessarily
Mm.
talk about on my show so much. So, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm staring at these Oddfellows collars, and I'm excited to be working on those. I actually just did one for a lodge back in Virginia. Did a restoration on that and put new trim on. Invented like this collar liner because 100 years of necks, it tends to leave substances on the collar. So especially when men aren't washing their neck. Anyway, so anyway, so I was able to kind of do some restoration work because these had degraded along the collar edge in particular, and sent it back. And they were so excited they're going to send me 15 more.
Wow.
So I appear to be the one person who was doing restoration on Oddfellows collars. So
Wow. What a unique
yeah,
place to occupy in the craft landscape.
right. I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's like I didn't send in a resume that I would like to. You know.
Well, your work was your resume. That's kind of the thing about crafts, right? Doesn't really matter as long as your
Well,
work is good.
the other thing that recently happened is I had a friend of mine who's moving, and she was cleaning out a house after an estate, and the family didn't want any of the stuff, and she scooped up about 3 or 4 tubs worth of wool and raw fleeces and everything for spinning because I do spin also,
Wow.
and I do natural plant dyes on occasion on the yarn that I spin. So it's the whole process, sheep to shawl. In fact, I helped with. I didn't shear the sheep myself, but once the professional guy was done and we went over the fleece and I got a fleece in payment for that. So I have a raw fleece sitting
Oh,
here
cool.
also. But I've been going through that the tubs of stuff that she just handed me, and there's oh my I can't even believe there's stuff that's like blended wool with fox fur in it and
Whoa.
mohair and alpaca and yarn that this other lady, whoever she was, spun that I was able to rescue and applied together to make new yarn. And it's just like this whole my if you can see my studio, it's just mounded up with bags and bags of wool. It's just insane.
Oh, man. Well, that sounds like a fun project, maybe a bit overwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be years of going through all this stuff. Currently on my work table over there, I'm doing some beadwork for an upcoming Doctor Who convention that I attend every year in Los Angeles, and so I'm doing some jewelry for the art show for that. So
Oh, cool.
I do a
That
lot of
sounds
different things.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. I am also a craft dabbler, so I understand the wide range
Right.
of craft interests.
Oh, gee. It gets kind of crazy.
Yeah, but also it's kind of nice because I personally never get bored because I will just put down whatever project I'm working on and then pick up a different one.
Yes, I do the same thing. I attribute that to the positive side of ADHD. It's just like, I don't want to bead. I'm gonna spin. I don't want to spin. I'm gonna, go through this fleece. I'm gonna make some earrings.
Well, I think different crafts also lend themselves to different moods. Like, I will knit in the evening because I can just knit, especially I usually do pretty simple things.
Mhm.
But I'll do like, cross stitch or something more involved like during the day or over the summer or when I have some more time.
Right, right. When you can, well, I have a bustling house and I'm interrupted frequently, so I try not to do anything that requires like heavy counting.
Yeah.
Um, but the beadwork is not. I mean, they're all my own designs, and it's easy to follow that. Spinning is, you don't need to count anything really there. I do embroidery. I do basketry. That's a thing.
Oh, cool.
I actually was taught by a Native American elder many, many, many years ago. So I've been weaving for about 45 years, exactly as she taught me. Because once again, I'm that authenticity nerd. I got to do it the right way, and I make baskets for in that style. And she taught me in the kind of a combination of Pomo and Miwok, California tribal style. So
That is really cool. How did you, because I'm sure there are other people who are like, oh, I would like to learn a craft, from a person, but I don't know how to find that person. How did you
mhm.
find this person? Do you remember?
Yeah, oh yeah, she was one of the leads. Well, I think she was the head of the department for a while of the interpretive program in Yosemite National Park. And right now I live near Yosemite, but at the time I was in the Bay Area, and every single year my family would take a vacation in August to Yosemite. That was our annual pilgrimage, right?
Mhm.
So I began spending more and more time until finally my entire time in Yosemite, basically, I would get up in the morning, have breakfast, head over to what she was doing, and then just watch her and sit there all day until she went home. So I was like,
Wow.
and she was like, "Oh, you seem interested."
That
Right?
is
And
really cool.
this was in the 1980s when a lot of Native people were not interested in their own culture. So she didn't really have a whole lot of people she was teaching. She taught her own daughters, of course, but outside of that, not really that many people. So she started like giving me little bits of stuff to play with. I'd go off, I'd come back. Is this right? No, I'll do it like this. And over a course of, well, years and years and years, we became good friends. And I've learned from her and kind of giving back where I can on that. I realize as a non-native person that I am holding that, for that culture, that it's not mine, that I'm just sort of borrowing it and I give it back whenever I'm able to.
That's really cool.
Mm.
What a unique and like what a special experience.
Yeah, yeah, I feel very blessed for that. It's not a quick thing. You don't just pop down to Walmart and buy some yarn and wajing, you got a shawl or something.
Mhm.
It takes a very, very, very long time to make these. You have to gather all the materials yourself. It's
Mm.
not sold in stores. In fact, I need to go out right away, in the next couple of weeks and gather some material while the season is correct to do that, so that I get the right colors and my materials, dry it for an entire year, and
Wow.
then I can weave next year. So I'm gathering this January for next January's basket.
Wow.
Mhm.
That is really cool. It's also really neat that you learned a craft that is done in your area and with materials that you can literally go outside and find. I think that's
Yeah.
rare.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
I love foraging. Yeah, it's a lot of
yeah.
fun.
It's really cool.
Thanks.
So what is like an interesting old tool or material that you wish people knew about?
Oh, wow, what an interesting question. Oh, well, I mean, it's more the tools are really for the end product, right?
Mhm.
So, really, it's what old-timey craft or traditional art you're interested in doing, because there are specialized tools for these things.
Mhm.
With basketry, I use a very fine awl. To
Mm,
stitch, I don't use a needle and thread. I have to poke a hole and then quickly feed the end of the material through there before the hole closes up. And I like to use a very fine awl for that. If you're spinning, I mean, your spinning wheels are important to get a good yarn from that, a good
yeah.
thread from that. Boy, that's a tough question. It completely depends on what you're doing, I think, or what you're interested in attempting.
Yeah. I think I was just thinking because I started hand sewing during the pandemic, and I had never really used a thimble before,
Oh,
but it's not a vintage thimble, it's a pretty modern, grippy thimble.
yeah.
But I can't imagine, like, sewing without one,
Mm,
and so many people don't use a thimble, and I wanna be like, "But your finger will feel so good
I
if you
know.
use a thimble."
Yeah, no, I have to use one when I do quilting, that's for darn sure. I mean, 'cause I
Yeah, yeah.
only hand quilt. I mean, I stitched together the tops on my 1893 sewing machine, by the way, at the treadle
Oh,
sewing machine. So
cool.
maybe that's the answer, is the old treadle sewing machine. This
Ooh,
thing is a workhorse. It performs as well as the day it was made. It doesn't use
yes.
electricity, so when the power goes out, which is frequent here in California, I can still sew.
That is so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
That's a good one.
it's funny because I hear so many people complaining about, "Oh, my sewing machine broke down. Oh, I had to get it serviced." It's like, you could throw this off a cliff and it would still make a great quilt, you know?
That is awesome. That's really cool. That's a great recommendation, I like it.
Yeah, yeah, they still
Um,
use them in a lot of places in the world where electricity is hard to come by, or, people just don't wanna spend the money on electricity.
yeah.
Yeah, treadle sewing machines are still being made today. But if you can find yourself a good functioning I collect singers in particular, Singer
Mhm.
sewing machine from, the 1800s or the early 1900s, boy, that thing is gonna last you several lifetimes.
And I'm sure there are plenty out there because hundreds of thousands were made, so
Yeah, I mean, less now because people kinda junked the top and then made, like, a
mm,
cabinet or a table out of the cabinet,
I
and not
gotcha.
it always kills me to see those cabinets that but it's like somebody's pulled the guts out of something, and then it's like this just taxidermy animal standing there now. It's like, that's not a real animal, that's just
You're
taxidermy.
like you're like, "That could have been a sewing
Right,
machine."
exactly, it's like, "Where's the machine? The guts are missing out of this animal, it's terrible."
Oh, that's really oh, that's sad.
Yeah, I mean, people just they don't know what to do with them, and they'd rather have a table than a sewing machine that they
Sure.
probably will never use, so, yeah, that's what
Right,
happens.
right. Which is fair, they do take up a lot of
They
space,
do.
so
Well, and they sit out in a barn, and they get rusty, and people are like,
Mhm.
"Nah, get rid of it," so I found
Yeah.
them for free at the dump. I mean, people just or in a
Wow.
dumpster. I've literally found them in those ways and
Wow.
saved their little they're like my little children. I can't just, "No, no, it's gotta get out of that dumpster. Get out of there."
That's awesome. And then my last question is, what is a question or something that you are curious about the history of crafts? Basically, mining you for podcast episode ideas.
Ah, oh, that's tough because I have a list of my own podcast ideas.
Don't give me any of those. I'm just wondering if there's something you've always wondered about, or like a material that you are curious about, or,
Um,
you know.
I think more about unusual fabrics or historical fabrics, or like some of the dyes were like straight up poisonous, like arsenic green and
Mm,
yeah, stuff like that. And
yeah.
then kind of circling back to museums, I mean, when you're working with textiles, you have to be very careful because you could be handling something that was treated with arsenic and have no idea. So you gotta wear
Right.
gloves. I mean, for a number of reasons, but yeah, you gotta be careful with some of this stuff. Um,
Yeah. So
yeah,
poisonous dye, old fabrics. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
yeah, something like that. I'm fascinated by some of the beautiful metalwork, goldwork embroideries that I find on these antique
Mm.
collars, and antique banners, and there's what is it in I'm going way off. I know what aside, but there's a historic site in California, Columbia State Historic Park, and it's basically a preserved town from the gold rush era, that has been made into
Oh, cool.
a living state park. And they have a display in there of all these very ornately embroidered banners from this fraternal organization. But I've taken so many pictures because they're just so gorgeous and extensive, and they're large, and to see the detail work, silk embroidery of California bears, and these elaborate like lilies made out of gold and silver, and they're just stunning. And those techniques are just, not a lot of people know how to do any of that anymore. And
Yeah.
just like the traditional basketry, it's similar where I'm always concerned about skills being lost due to disinterest.
Mhm.
Hardly anybody makes bobbin lace anymore or does tatting. These
Mhm.
things that are, pardon the pun, hanging on by a thread. That needs more of a spotlight, I think, is things that are in danger of disappearing. There's actually a website in England that is heritage arts that they're keeping track of, that there may only be one person left in England doing them, that kind of thing, making
Mhm.
horsehair fabric, this kind of stuff. So that's a really
Right.
fascinating topic to me. And from a historical preservation perspective, once that knowledge dies with the last person, it's like a language, right? The last native
Mhm.
speaker of that language goes, that's it. I mean, we can get what we can get, but their detailed knowledge is just, it goes off into the ether. And I'm concerned about endangered crafts like that too.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, people are so much more fun and interesting to learn from too. I think it can be so much easier too than reading a book or
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. No, no. In fact, there's one basketry technique that I had to teach myself. Well, I have to, but I really, really wanted to know how to do it. And it's in a book. The photos are terrible. And I didn't have a person, but I knew just enough about what she was doing. And I could take pictures of existing baskets using the same technique and kind of pieced it together. And so now I've been able to replicate what that is, and showed it to my teacher I was mentioning earlier. And she's like, yeah, no, that's
Mhm.
it. You've done it. So yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I was very, very happy with that.
Well, good for you. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for listening. If you have a question or a comment, or you or someone you know would like to be interviewed on our show, you can send us an email at handmadehistoryhosts, that's HOSDS, @gmail.com. You can also visit our website at handmadehistorypodcast.com. Willow, thank you so much for coming on our show. It was really nice to talk with you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was a good time.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.